Hello everyone and welcome. I am his most awesomest Night Train, casting yet another epic duel between the players here. And with me, as always, is the bender to my fry.
The Robo so nice they named him twice. Double Robo here, casting on Terminus SE, right?
SE,
Not
indeed.
RE, because we had a conversation before the cast that I apparently forgot in the 2 seconds between then and now. So we're gonna start with the purple Terran player at the top here. We have ESC's Goody, and on the right side of the map, playing the green Protoss, we have mouzMaNa.
Alright, yes, it is worth noting, Night Train recently had his wisdom teeth removed, so if he starts babbling incoherently, can't pronounce a word, please do forgive me for that. And this map is Terminus SE, the GSL version. The notable difference is that there are rocks and a ramp into this third here. The third only is kind of a baby third. It's only got a little bit of minerals and one gas. The big issue though here is the ramp that differentiates it from Terminus RE.
Yeah, it's got two ramps going into this third here, and it's got rocks. It definitely gives the players something to watch out for. It's a little more important in matchups against the Zerg, just because you got to keep an eye on that all the time, so their scouting lings or some early roaches don't come through there and break down those rocks early. But it can still be used by both. Protoss, it's not uncommon to see them take that third base and then wall it off with pylons or gateways, so they don't get Hellion run-bys or anything like that. Um, but it'll be interesting to see if that really comes into play here. They ended up changing that and changing the gas at the third as well later on. So we'll see if that affects any of the game here.
Right, and definitely something to pay attention to right now. We have the barracks in a little bit of a tricky position. I don't really think it's going to matter. I don't think we're going to see any serious pressure out of this. This may have just been a move by Goody to scare his opponent. However, he is more or less in luck or not in luck because Mana has scouted the wrong two bases both times, so it's not even really going to matter.
Yeah, that's actually that's something that a lot of Terrans do to hide the barracks, make the Protoss think, oh man, maybe I'm getting two racks. You have a big base here, so it can be easy to hide a two racks, especially sometimes Terrans will build it on the low ground by that other third that you can take, that's kind of outside of the base, and then float it up. So if Mana had scouted that way first, he may have gotten a little scared because he didn't see the barracks, but it's not really going to matter here. And we see Goody throwing down the expansion now, so he's going to go for an economy build. He's just got that one barracks going to trap the probe, but obviously it still sees the
Ooh,
expansion.
probe might be actually get out of here. Either way, I mean, he knows the command center is put up. I mean, you sometimes will see the Terran if he's really trying to be tricky. He'll
I'm putting an eBay
cancel.
down
Yeah.
at Mana's expansion now, so
Ooh, clever.
I wonder how Mana's going to respond to this. He's actually getting a lot of it done because Mana hasn't seen it yet. So now here comes the Stalker. He's going to shoot that SCV down first. But that engineering base still got 600 health on it. So it looks like Mana's only got one gate and a core, so he may have been going for a quick Nexus. He might switch that into like a 3-gate Nexus or like a 2-gate Robo Nexus while he kills this engineering bay. We'll see if he does anything about it. He's got 400 minerals banked up right now, though.
Right, and if anyone's
And he is going
wondering,
to throw down
yep.
those 2 gates, yeah.
Right, if anyone's wondering why Goody would throw away an engineering bay like that, he wasn't going to let it finish. He'll cancel it before it dies, but this is exactly, it serves one purpose, then to delay the Nexus. He knows that Mana saw him getting the command center first, so if, Mana wants to kind of follow that up with an expansion himself, he's going to have to sit there, spend that time. I mean, it took him quite a fair amount of time to get that Nexus down. He ended up having to change his build anyway. By the time the Nexus has even been planted, this command center is already halfway into an orbital, so it's worth it, even if it seems counterproductive.
Yeah, and we usually see Terran and Protoss players do this against the Zerg to take early control against them putting down that quick Nexus. But on a map that's as big as Terminus here, it's pretty obvious that players are going to go for that early expansion. The only other map that it's really a given on is something as big as like Calm Before the Storm or something like that, which I don't think was part of the map pool for this. Goody, by doing that, he doesn't really ruin Mana's build or anything. He's going to get Warp Gate up. He's going to get some units out. But he knows that Mana's not going to get enough units out to attack him. Although he does have that proxy pylon over there, and he's going to warp in some
Goody
sentries
just
here.
barely missed it. I mean, he had a Marine literally just barely out of sight of it, and I kind of was like looking, oh, does he see it? He doesn't. So, this may actually be a little bit of trouble for Goody here.
Yeah, and it looks like these rocks are actually going to come into play, so I'm glad we talked about him early on. Here comes a Marauder coming down here. I think he's going to see all these sentries. There's 2 Zealots in here now, too, so Mana not going all in with this, but he is going to make Goody build 2 bunkers here.
Ooh, and here they come.
Yeah, we got these Zealots coming in here. He's got a lot of sentries, so he's going to be able to force field off that bunker, but the SCVs are a little too late. Not enough time for them. Good force fields here from Mana. He's going to prevent some of this damage, but it looks like he might lose a lot of those sentries. I don't know if this is going to be worth it for him, to be honest.
Right, right. He was doing really, really good until the sentries started to fall. I don't think he quite had enough of everything else. And now with these other bunkers going to be up, it's time for these all to go home. So yeah, that was actually very, very good force fields. Goody, yeah, reacting a little slowly to repairing that bunker. It actually kind of hurt him. But, you know, it's quite apparent now that it's time for them to go home. He did lose quite a few sentries, so hard to say if it was worth it. Looking at units lost here, I mean, the Terran has lost 831 resources to 450. However, those sentries are quite valuable early game for Protoss, so I'd say it was a pretty even trade.
Well, yeah, especially because we see Mana here going. He's putting down the robotics bay and also a forge, both very gas heavy. He's going to be going Colossus, so it's good for him that he made Goody build all these bunkers because a Colossus with range is going to outrange those. So those are basically wasted resources here for Goody now. But like you said, the sentries are very, very gas heavy, and so is Colossus and upgrades. So Mana would like to have those sentries back because you don't want to remake them once you start getting Colossus out because it's going to really delay your Colossus production.
Right, right. That gas, very, very valuable, and exactly, you know, you see a lot of Protoss, you'll notice, build a whole lot of sentries very early in the game. That's before they start having that huge, expensive, you know, gas tech like Colossus or Templar, things like that. And, you know, sentries just sit there, they're building up mana, using force fields for later. So that's generally why you see a lot of early sentries. Yeah, losing that, probably not what he wanted to do.
Yeah, Goody still hasn't seen this pylon down here, so Mana may be able to use that to reinforce if he decides to go for another early attack once he gets range to outrange those bunkers.
I know, it's killing me looking at that. It was so very close. So well
Goody
placed
may
by
be
Mana.
going for an attack here, or at least a drop. He's got those first 2 medevacs out now, so he might try to poke with this. He knows the Colossus timing on this map, so it looks like he's going to try and hit before that Colossus comes out to try and do a little bit of damage here.
Right, and Mana is going to see this coming. That probe does die, but he does see the tower. I do not believe he saw the medevacs. Goody actually very smartly pulling those back, and he is filling them up. So
yeah,
we
that was
may
a good little
see,
micro there.
Yeah, we may see a good a drop. Good call, my robotic buddy.
We may see a drop and Mana just put down that third, so he might try to drop on the third and get him to cancel that. Colossus is out now, though, so that little delay of killing the sentry and then also having to pull those medevacs back slowed down his push a little bit.
Right.
But he's going to go for a drop in the main here, and he might be able to snipe the robotics bay back here, which is training extended thermal lance. I don't think he's going to get there in time, though, because he went a really long way around.
Yeah, and Mana doesn't seem to be fooled. He kind of seems to sense this coming. He's pulling a lot of his units back into the main. 3 stalkers there to catch for drops. We are going to see kind of a 2-pronged attack here, though I don't think it's very wise. There are no Vikings out at this point. The drop going in the back here, pulling the army away. However, really good force fields up in the front.
Good force fields at the front, yeah. Really good force fields, and a stim there with only 1 medevac. So, you know, 1 medevac, not very good at healing a lot of units. He's going to push these units back into Mana's base here.
And doing a lot of damage here in the natural. He does clean up the drop in the front. As soon as this Colossus gets here, this attack is going to be pretty quickly foiled.
Yeah, really, the most important thing about all that, it looked a little impressive at the beginning, but Mana pulled all his probes. He saved almost all of them here. He's now got 2 Colossus out, and Goody just basically did shield damage. He didn't really kill a lot in that attack, so Mana, it looks like he's actually going across the map. He still has that pylon to reinforce, so he may be going for a counterattack here.
Right.
Nope, actually, just going to pull back. He's just going to be safe. He's going to protect that third. I think that's the right choice here.
And there was a little remnants of this drop here, bouncing into the main base. No real damage has been done. He may get a stalker, and he does. But this is all going to get cleaned up, though we did force all the probes to move and everything like that. And we do see a Templar Archives coming up as well.
Yeah, Colossus Templar is something that a lot of pros have been talking about as the kind of composition of the future, especially against Terran. It's got so much AoE potential. You're really kind of like going Baneling Muta in TVZ. You're forcing the Terran to micro. You're forcing them, and a little drop here in the expansion.
Ooh, yeah.
Again, he runs his probes away, really fast reaction time, but he loses a little more in that than he did before. But, Goody keeping up with this multitasking here. But um, like I was talking about, you're going to make the Terran multitask if they have to move out of storms. They have to target the Colossus with their Vikings. They have to, move back their Marauders and slow down the Zealots. Like, it's something that can be really effective, but it's also really gas heavy. So Mana going to be looking to take probably a 4th base, especially since this 3rd base only has 1 gas added. I'd be surprised to see him go this off of 5 gas.
Right, and you are correct. We do see the Templar archives going down, and as a Terran player, I can tell you there's nothing more frustrating in the world than actually having to micro.
You mean not having to A-move? Oh,
Yeah,
God, I hate that.
it's tough, man. It's tough. You don't understand. So, Goody probably sees this coming. There haven't been a whole lot of Colossus out, so he knows that gas has to be going somewhere. He probably figures if he's going to make a timing without Ghost here, this is the time to do it. And he's coming here into the natural.
Yeah, he's going to come in here. He's got those 3 Colossus in the back, but a ton of Vikings here for Goody. Good target firing by Mana, though, is going to take those out really fast. And really, he's just moving forward with these Colossus, doing so much damage here. And these Zealots are under the Medivacs. I don't think he really saw how much damage those Zealots were. It's too late. And Mana really getting ahead in that. And he's also got the 3rd base up here now. So Goody was expanding behind this. He's got his 3rd base down, too. Although Mana sees it with that Observer. Great Observer placement there. And that proxy pylon is still there.
I know. I don't know if it'll ever be destroyed this game.
Does he see that?
He, as far as I'm aware, has not seen it. No, he's walked past it about 20 times and never seen it.
That's actually going to be huge right now because Goody just put down this base. He just lost a ton of units. And now Mana can use that to reinforce. He's going to run here into this expansion.
This is really not good for Goody.
Yeah, this is really not good for Goody at all.
Maybe he's got all those bunkers there, which are more or less useless when your 3rd is getting attacked like this. No real reaction from Goody at all. He probably thinks, well, there's nothing I can do here. He's looks like he may be going to defend. That command center floating away had to get canceled out of an orbital, and it is going to burn. This is not a good position for Goody at all. I'm not entirely sure what he's going to do. We do have a little bit of a drop here in the 3rd base. The Medivac getting feedbacked and sniped, so this drop is going to get cleaned up. But Goody in a really bad position, though he does get the snipe on both of the Colossus. Oh!
Oh my god, such a huge move there. Mana was pulling back his forces to go back and try and deal with that drop and protect his main, knowing how much damage he did. But really, Goody is delaying mining time at this 3rd. He's killed a lot of probes with it. And Mana actually sending his probes back to mine before they're ready, or I should say before he's killed those Marines. So Goody with some good micro here is going to be able to kill some probes, and I don't know if it's going to even up losing that 3rd expansion, but it's definitely going to help.
Right, right. That was, yeah, both players really, really impressive. I would say probably Goody still not doing so hot. I mean, you'll note the 3rd base here is a mini base. It doesn't have a ton of, it doesn't have the minerals and gas, I should say, of a normal base, but it's pretty well mined out. Not necessarily mined out, but it's kind of getting there. I mean, Goody's really done no real mining on his 3rd base at all. Mana actually taking this 4th base here, so I would say Mana's still in a very good position. He did manage to snipe those Colossus, which was very, very good. Now he knows also that the Templar are out. He's seen the Archon, so he has Ghosts on the way. He's certainly not out of this by a long shot, but he's still probably in a pretty tricky position.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing that's really interesting to see on this map, before Mana threw down this 4th expansion, is where players decide to take their 4th. Sometimes it can be a little easier for Terran, especially because they can float it over to this main base that's below them, because you'll notice there's rotational symmetry on this map. Right. But sometimes a lot of players can get stuck in a 3-base versus 3-base thing here because it's so easy to control that middle and just kind of push back and forth. And both armies are pretty equal right now. Mana's got a supply lead, but I would assume most of that's in probes because it doesn't look like his army's that much bigger than Goody's.
Yeah, actually quite a good deal of that is in probes. He's up 30 probes right now. Also worth noting, up an upgrade for armor and attack each. Though I do believe, actually no, Goody has not been upgrading. He's not been keeping up with his upgrades. So he's 1-1 versus a very strong Protoss Death Ball of 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2 and +3 almost done here for the Protoss, and 6 gates going up. So this is one thing I really like to see when a Protoss goes Zealot Archon, especially against a Terran. You kind of keep those Colossus as long as you can, but you really just forsake them in the long run for Storms and eventual Archons and Zealots, and you just kind of let those Colossus die to the Vikings, which become utterly useless once the Colossus are dead. Refill with Zealots and Templar on a ton of gateways, and then you're able to make basically a 300 push like what Zergs do sometimes.
All right, this is going to be really, really tricky. If Goody wants to hold this, I think he finally did spot that. Oh, a huge storm goes off. He's kind of in a pretty tight choke point. Another huge storm. I don't know how well he's going to come out of this.
Wow, 3 big storms there, and now these Colossus are just going to have free reign. There's all the Vikings are going down too, so it's just these Zealots in on the Marauders right now,
And
these
there it
2
is.
Colossus in the back, and GG.
GG.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. I mean, that was finally, it was kind of ironic, that pylon there, that reinforced pylon came down, right in the beginning of the game, right very, very early. Goody never ever saw it until literally 2 seconds before the end of the game. That was just kind of an ironic twist of fate. And some really, really good storms there. Before the storms went down, I wasn't entirely sure if Goody was totally out of this. But I mean, if you look at the ending supply here, we're looking at 187 to 60. Goody's bio ball just absolutely decimated by like 3 pretty perfect storms.
Yeah, the storms were perfect, and a lot of that was in the upgrades too. If you look at the Zealots, he attacked right after +3 armor finished. So a lot of those Zealots only have shield damage and have very little health damage, and a lot of them are at full health completely. So if they would have been equal on upgrades, he would have still taken a lot of damage from those storms, but he would have been able to kite the Zealots, run back, maybe reinforce a little bit, and pull his SCVs to attack again. But he lost all that bio so fast because he got trapped there by the Zealots as well against that wall.
Right, and I can tell you, I mean, this area right here, I mean, if he had attacked somewhere out in the middle here, around these towers and things like that, those are good places to get caught with storms, so to speak. There's a lot of directions you can run. You can move away from the Protoss army. You can get your ghosts out to try and EMP to prevent any storms. However, this little narrow choke point he got stuck into, that's probably the worst possible place he could have found storms, because he really had one direction he could go, backwards towards his base and then get stormed again, or forward towards the Protoss army and get stormed again. So I saw him kind of there, and I said, I don't know if he's going to make it out, and he absolutely did not.
Yeah, and if you look at Mana's base, he had 4 more warp gates that had just come up, and he had a little bit of a bank there too, which he was going to keep that bank going as he stayed on 200, and then he would have been able to attack into the Terran again. So, definitely a very decisive victory there, but even if he would have lost half of his units and ran away and reinforced, he still would have had a really strong army, and he had that pylon there as well. So
Right.
And really just had Goody in a checkmate there.
Right. And really, the end of the day, losing that third base absolutely did it for him. Those drops were pretty effective. They did some pretty minor damage. He managed to kill some probes. He managed to see some tech. But at the end of the day, that one attack by Mana knocked out this third base entirely. It just set him too far back, and I think that's what ended it for him.
Well, Mana had really good reaction time, too. He pulled his probes really, really fast on both of those drops, and I think that really helped him keep a lot of his probe count up. We saw he had, a lot more probes than Goody had SCVs at the
30
end.
lead. So, all right, very good game by both these players. Let's move on.